Więc mamy w kraju, jakie kierownictwo partii i rządu też niełatwe zadanie.
Też dziękuję. Prosiłbym pana premiera, żeby lata emerytalne się trochę skróciły.
Welcome to the first episode of Night Case, a podcast where we peel back the layers of the strangest and most unsettling cases from all over the world. Today we will cover a case that happened in Poland in 1992 that is still being shadowed by the ghosts of its past. The most famous unsolved crime that happened in Poland was the brutal assassination of the former Prime Minister Piotr Jaroszewicz and his wife Alicja Solska. So make yourself some tea, settle in, and let's try to untangle this case together. A case that is filled with mysteries, political ghosts, and as many theories as no one can count. Because for more than 30 years, no one was able to answer one simple question. Who killed the former Prime Minister of Poland? Piotr Jaroszewicz, born in 1909 in today's Belarus, began his career as a simple school teacher. World War II changed everything. He was arrested by the Soviets and sent to forced labor. Later, he joined the Soviet-backed Polish army and rose to the rank of general in only 28 months. After the war, he became a key figure in communist Poland and eventually served as prime minister from 1970 to 1980. His fall came with economic collapse and political betrayal, including his detention during martial law. In retirement, he worked on a memoir that was rumored to have some sensitive secrets. And by 1990s, he was believed to be a man that knew far too much, and that this made him a perfect target. Piotr and his wife lived in a villa in Anin, a quiet upscale district just outside Warsaw, on Zorze 19th Street. The villa itself had a strange history. Before the war, it belonged to a high-ranking security official, and many people believed that it was wired for surveillance. Piotr avoided talking indoors, and whenever he had guests, he always invited them to talk in his garden. In the 1990s, couple lived in a constant fear. People around them said that they were paranoid, but they had their own reasons. On the night of August 31st to September 1st, 1992, something terrible happened. The intruders wore disposable protective overalls, double gloves, masks, and very cheap Chinese footwear that leaves no distinguishable footprints. They knew exactly what they were doing, and they knew exactly where they were going. Piotr was tortured on the first floor, brutally and systematically. He was strangled by a belt, and a handle of a traditional chupaga jammed into the back of his neck. Alicia was killed in the bathroom with a single gunshot to her head. And it was not adding up with a simple robbery scenario because 63,000 zloty remained untouched in the kitchen drawer. Also, 16 guns remained where they were always were. Art, silver, jewelry, everything, all untouched. Only few things disappeared, including 2 pistols, a Finnish knife, and possibly some German marks. And also, all the drawers were ripped up, as if the killers were looking for microfilms. And one more strange thing is that Piotr's left hand was tied to a chair, while his right hand was free. And it seems like killers were forcing him to sign something. And you may also ask, who found the body? The body was found by their son Andrzej, who came after multiple calls unanswered, and he says that the scene that he saw still haunts him to this day. As I mentioned in the beginning, this case has lots of versions and theories around it, and let's cover a few of them, which is actually a chronicle of confusion. So the first one is that it was a robbery gone wrong scenario. And police initially insisted that it was just a burglary. However, how can you explain that no valuables were touched, that it was professionally executed, and how can you explain torture? Even investigators admitted that it was too meticulously and carefully planned and was clearly not about money. In 1994, four petty criminals were accused. They committed robberies before, but never murders. But this case was a spectacular failure. Even the prosecution itself asked for their acquittal, and they were paid a compensation for their wrongful arrest. A second trial began in 2020. Three members of a gang known as Karateci were accused, and one man actually confessed but later withdrew his confession because of a lenient sentence in another case. He almost fooled a system. By November 2024, Warsaw's district court acquitted all three men. Judge actually criticized the prosecution for procedural violations and also suggestive interrogations. One example was almost absurd. A man said that he tied Piotr with shoelace, and in the next interrogation, police officer brought a belt because the belt was seen in the crime scene photos. The judge noticed and cited these inconsistencies and threw out the case. A more exotic theory claims that Piotr possessed secret documents from a secret Nazi archive that could have easily ruined powerful people's lives. But this turned out to be a pure fiction invented by a writer. However, in this case, fiction and reality can easily blur together. General Jerzy Fanfara, another figure linked to controversial wartime and communist era mysteries, was also brutally killed in a similar way shortly after Piotr's death. Nothing valuable was stolen, the parallels were eerie, and yes, they had met a few days prior to Piotr's death. Is it a coincidence or a cleanup? Today, more than 30 years later, the murder is still unsolved. As of 2025, all suspects are acquitted, lots of files are missing, no physical evidence is reliable, and people in Poland are still debating whether it was a political execution, a criminal operation, or something much, much darker. Alicja and Piotr's son, Andrzej, continues to demand answers, calling this case a matter of national security. But the facts and truths may already be buried with those who lived through the darkest times of Poland. The murder of Piotr Jaroszewicz is not just a crime story, it's a story about the country, its secrets, and the ghosts of an old regime that refused to disappear quietly. Was Jaroszewicz silenced because he knew too much, or was it just a messy case that was mishandled and forgotten? Today, the villa in Anin is quiet, the rooms are empty, and the truth, whatever it is still sitting quietly, waiting. Thank you for watching this episode of Night Case. If you liked it, please follow, leave a comment, and I'll see you next week for the next case that we'll untangle together. Good night.